Fortunately, all these things can be bought online, and the delivery is super fast. He's going to need all these things to survive the extreme heat and the severe cold that will kick off the apocalypse. Him making it through the intense temperature changes will completely depend on whether he has enough materials to regulate the weather. So, he gets to work contacting multiple companies to prepare the materials that he would need. He starts by ordering 2,000 tons of smokeless coal and offers to pay 500,000 yuan in deposits. Then, he does the same thing with the ice factory, ordering multiple tons of ice from them as well. A few of the companies request a face-to-face discussion, so he leaves his apartment to head over and talk to the ice makers. As soon as he steps outside, he stumbles into a new face followed by an unwelcome old one. Her name is Lena, and she is a close friend of Xiaoan. In fact, she was the one that introduced them to each other and trapped him in that awful relationship. She walks up to him with a smile while her friend follows closely behind. She then tells him that his girlfriend has been missing him very much. He asks them if she has been missing him, or if she has been missing his house. Lena tries to cover for her friend and tells Suchin that his girlfriend was only testing him, before she accuses him of being clueless and ignoring how sad Shan has been without him. The gold digger of a girlfriend takes the opportunity to latch onto Suchin's arm and plead with him. She asks him to accompany her for a walk and apologizes for scolding him yesterday, in hopes that he won't be mad at her. The act doesn't impress him at all, and he pulls his arm away, telling her that he's busy and she should go and take a stroll by herself. Shan is surprised that Suchin is acting so arrogantly, but Lena snaps her out of it and points out that he's taking a taxi somewhere. This might be her final test, so she encourages Xiaoan to follow him in a different taxi and see where he goes. Suchin makes his way to the ice factory to meet with the manager and place his order. The older gentleman greets him and seems surprised that Suchin is so young, despite all the things that he's buying. The two shake hands, then the younger man follows up the discussion by asking how long it'll take to produce and ship the 2,000 tons of ice that he had ordered. The manager assures Suchin that their ice factory is very efficient and one of the best in the state. He promises to deliver the edible ice in 3 days, and the total price of it all would be 800,000 yuan. Suchin agrees and hands over a 100,000 yuan deposit, then he gives the man an address to deliver the ice to in 3 days. Now that the transaction has been confirmed, the man decides to ask him why he needs so much ice. Was there some sort of large-scale event happening somewhere? If he is a regular organizer, then they could partner more in the future. He was somewhat correct, since there is definitely a large-scale event happening soon, but Suchin can't just casually tell him that. So instead, he lies that he plans to donate all the ice to the Alashan for charity. The manager is surprised, but at the end of the day, an 800,000 yuan deal has been settled immediately. At the entrance, that young man must really be something. As he watches Suchin's taxi drive away, another taxi pulls up, and he wonders if this is someone else here for business without an appointment. Shan and Lena step out of the taxi and walk over to talk to the manager. Shan tells the boss that Suchin is her fiancé and she wants to know what they were talking about. He doubts her a little and wonders if this is some sort of detective play, but he still tells her that Suchin had ordered 800,000 yuan worth of ice from his company. Xiaoan and Lena nearly scream at the mention of that, since this pretty much confirms that Suchin must be some sort of second-generation, super-rich personality. No one in their right minds would spend that much money on just ice. Lena desperately asks what Suchin wants to do with so much ice, and he tells them that Suchin plans to donate it for charity. Of all the responses they expected, they definitely were not expecting that. Back with our protagonist, Suchin has now purchased all the items he would need to survive in the apocalypse, and now he decides to enjoy the little time he has left before the world descends into chaos. In his last life, he was too busy working to ever think of doing anything in luxury. Even going to a small cafe was out of the question for him, since he was so preoccupied. So, he decides to go to a fancy restaurant to relax and enjoy himself. A waitress welcomes him and hands him a menu to look through. There's a lot of delicious food like butter chicken naan and smoked steak, with each item on the list needing him to spend up to 4 digits. One menu item in particular catches his eye, and it seems to be a mystery item that costs 17,000 yuan. He asks about it, and the waitress confirms that it's a meal personally crafted by the head chef of the restaurant. The details completely depend on the chef's inspiration. That sounds interesting, so Suchin decides to get that for himself. In his last life, at the beginning of the apocalypse, a strange force caused many creatures to mutate and turn into terrifying beasts. There were many monsters, like a giant serpent, that appeared in the midst of the floods in the early days of the apocalypse. He would need to prepare himself to deal with those things when they start to appear. But for now, his eyes are drawn to a pink-haired beauty walking towards the table with his food. She introduces herself as the head chef of the restaurant, and she brought the food she specially tailored for him based on his temperament. She doesn't need to introduce herself, since Suchin already recognized her. In his last life, she was known as Hell's Chef, Dwanya. She had the magical culinary skill to turn decayed monster meat into food, and no one could resist its temptation. However, those dishes were made using mutations sourced from inside monstrous beasts, and eating them would lead to certain death. She notices his dark expression and wonders if he thinks that a beautiful woman like her will poison his food, so she tries to calm him down by introducing the food. The dish is called dual-fed life, and it's a piece of steak where one side is tuna fried in brown butter, while the other side is deep-fried in puff pastry. It's a kind of steak with two flavors that leave a lasting impression. Suchin hides his expression and takes a bite of the steak. It is definitely worth the 17,000 yuan he spent on it, and the taste is really good. If only she could cook for him in the apocalypse, but it's possible that she could poison his food, and he would have no idea. Meanwhile, outside the restaurant, Xiaoan and Lena watch the place in jealousy and wonder what exactly Suchin is eating there. They've heard that each dish costs at least 10,000 yuan, and the fact that he's casually going there for a snack just further proves to them that he must be some kind of second-generation kid. Once Xiaoan becomes a rich wife, she will definitely be able to take care of her sisters. Next, in his adventure around town, Suchin heads over to the Arya Scans bar in the Golden Sales Vault of Xanadu. In his past life, he regretted not being able to enjoy these kinds of extravagant places, and once the apocalypse starts, places like these will no longer exist.